Ooh, yeah, it's the Pajama Pants. Wait for it, Leia, the Cemetery Man of Salem, Mass, live in living color here with you. It's Grande's Graveyard. What's going on, ladies and gents? Are we ready for the show today? This is episode 5. The Empire is not striking back today, but we are screaming. We're screaming all about Scream from 1996. I have a very special guest. We're going to get to him, of course. We got a lot of things going on today. Halloween 2018 premieres tonight. Michael's back in town. The Shape is back to slash Jamie Lee, Laurie Strode, all over Haddonfield. It's going to be a blast to watch tonight. It's just a big day in the horror community, and I figured what better way to talk about, the latest upcoming slasher movie than to talk about one of my favorite slasher movies of all time, and that is Scream. So we're going to first get into the recommendations, then we're going to get into my guests, then we're going to get into Scream and all these beautiful, creamy, good things. So sit back, relax, ease the seat back, and enjoy the ride. Here we go. All right. Recommendation of the week. This is one of my favorite movies, and it's a cheesy little 80s movie. Very few people talk about it. It's very little known, and it's kind of a shame. And it's called Night of the Comet from 1984. And if you have not seen or heard of Night of the Comet from 1984, I'll give you a little plot synopsis. I have nothing to hold up here. I don't own the movie, unfortunately. But basically, Night of the Comet is a story about these two sisters. Both of them really, really badass, cool, hot chicks. One's blonde, one's brunette. They're both awesome. And basically, their town is having this big parade fest thing for this comet. And it's going to be the first time they're going to see this comet in 60 million years or something like that. It's like very rare comet. And everyone's so super excited about it. And basically, through one way or another, the two of them end up not getting to see the comet. They stay in, they sleep, they hang out with each other, whatever. And basically, when they come outside the day after the comet, everyone is turned to red dust. And it's just the creepiest thing ever. Everyone's just gone, and everyone's like, what's going on in this thing right now? Like, everyone's gone. And certain people that were inside that weren't affected by seeing the comet in person actually turn into these crazy zombie things. And the entire movie is this kind of action adventure in the vein of A Dawn of the Dead from 78. And it's just so much fun. It's a really, really cool, underrated gem. You have great characters, just phenomenal. Like the lead girl, Reg, she's a hardcore video game, like tomboy chick. And there's a scene where towards the beginning, she's getting ready to have sex with her boyfriend. And certainly, like he's like, oh man, we should close the windows so no one can see. And she says something along the lines of like, Superman could see us. And he's like, well, Superman has X-ray vision. He can't see through walls. And she's like, he has X-ray vision. Yes, he can see through walls. So it's just a lot of fun, man. Just really fun banter. There's a whole 80s montage in the shopping mall of girls just want to have fun with the two of them. And they're, instead of like picking up clothes and stuff, they're actually playing down like Tommy guns and machine guns and stuff. It's just one of those movies you have a blast watching. It's fun. It has a comedic exterior. It has fun, colorful characters. Nobody feels wasted in this movie. And like it's one of those movies. It's shot really well. Has this beautiful like red, magenta, orange aesthetic to it. The sky in the background after the comet occurs. It's just beautiful to look at, man. It's like a painting. It's just so nice. It reminds me of like oil pastel type of color. Just gorgeous stuff to look at. And the film actually, what people don't know, had a budget of $700,000. And for a movie with that low of a budget, it looks phenomenal. It looks like it had like Peter Jackson producing it and stuff. Like it's just fantastic looking movie. I couldn't recommend Night of the Comet more. It's fun. It's got all the action, all the great characters, all the great dialogue, anything and everything you could want in a movie to watch around this time, this season. But that's totally my recommendation of the week. I'll have plenty more for you guys next week. It's going to be a whole recommendation show on the 25th. So tune into that. And without further ado, I am going to introduce to you my guest of honor, the guest of the evening, the one, the only, Triple Brie, Brian Blanco. How are you, Brian?
What is up, John? Stu Grande.
Well, he's actually Brian Billy Blanco.
Yes.
That's the third B. I forgot the third B. But man, how you doing today, man?
Not bad at all. Thank you for this experience. It's been awesome so far. I like this setup.
It's got a cool aesthetic to it, right?
Agreed.
It's a cool little studio. Mm-hmm. Like it's just, I don't know, man. It's phenomenal in here. I just love it. There's space. There's the glass. Like I feel so professional.
Agreed. I totally agree.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, we go way
Thank you.
back, actually.
Absolutely.
We had, I believe it was creative
writing.
We had a creative writing class together, and I remember Brian's a huge pro wrestling fan, as am I.
Yep.
And I was rocking my WCW Monday Night Jericho tee. And yeah, I go up, I read my poem. Before I sit down, an arm reaches out, and it's Brian, and he's like, "Oh my God, dude, that Chris Jericho shirt's amazing. Where'd you get it?" And we sat down, we started talking, and we've been brothers.
I think at the time I was wearing an AJ Styles shirt too, so you also said like the shirt, so that was it.
Yeah, me and Brian are crazy shirt people. For whoever doesn't know, like we love to show what we're passionate about on our.
Agreed.
Like the whole term is.
Even right now, I'm wearing a Nightmare on Elm Street shirt.
Yeah, rock it off for the camera. Let's show it off. I'm showing my Halloween 2 shirt too. That's for tonight, obviously. But man, I'm thrilled to have you on because we've talked to all these things: pop culture,
absolutely,
horror movies, comedies. I know we both love Harold and Kumar.
Absolutely,
White Castle.
Yep.
Just so many awesome movies. But what have you watched so far this month, man? Like, what has been some of your picks this month?
Okay, I have watched Scream 1 through 3.
Oh wow, okay, you're prepared.
Texas Chainsaw Next Generation, of course.
Oh, the classic with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger. That's one of the craziest movies of all time. If you haven't seen that one, I will talk about it in a
That's a
show.
terrific one. On AMC, I was watching. They had a Halloween marathon. I watched I think Halloween's 1 through 6.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What of the first 6? What is your favorite one?
It's a toss-up between number 2 and number 1, but I think I'll give it to number 2.
Yes, there you go. That
that
is a good man right there, because I'm a mark for part 2. We have yet another mark for part 2 in the studio. I love it. There's something about that movie, right? Like, I just love the hospital atmosphere. You know, like I always thought that was a perfect setting, didn't you?
At night, yeah, especially, and plus, also, there was hardly any people working in the hospital.
It's the most empty hospital ever.
So Michael had free roam to work with.
Yeah, you know, he had all these, this room to maneuver, and I always thought like a different thing about that movie, what nobody ever mentions, is it's a movie where your cast is not all teenagers.
Yeah.
The people he's picking off are adults. I always thought that was cool. You know, the usual slasher trope is, okay, we're gonna have a bunch of dumb teens. There really aren't. I guess Laurie is playing a teen, but she's not really a teen. Then that wig, that horrible wig, will tell you otherwise. I guess Jimmy was a teen. But,
okay, he
but
was young.
other than dear old Jimmy, nobody. But man, I love that. Of course, the needle through the eye kill.
Oh, Dr. Mixter, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. The girl, she comes into the room and she's looking for this doctor because Laurie has an allergic reaction to something she's been given.
Medication.
And she finds this doctor dead with a needle in his eye.
And
as she slowly backsteps, you see Michael's face appear.
And the music.
Oh my God, it's tension done to perfection.
The music is perfect. It's perfectly placed.
Right? Yeah, it's phenomenal. And like, what I love is in the original, it's kind of a ripoff of the scene where Laurie backs up from seeing her friends in the original movie.
And then Michael, same thing.
And it's instead of the red tint, it's a blue tint.
Yep.
And he gets the stab, and she falls down the steps, and then the chase is on. But within this movie, it's an awesome half red tint. And if anybody knows me, red's my favorite color. I love, as Pamela Springsteen would say in the Sleepaway Camp movies, my favorite color is blood red. It is true. And I just love that kill because he pulls the needle out, bam, right in the eye. And I remember as a kid, that always just
terrified me.
It popped me. I was just always like, oh my God, like, because you think she's going to run out and get it stabbed or something cliche. But no, just slowly backing up as the shape slowly but surely appears. I mean, that's just a phenomenal scene. But that's one of my favorites. Anything else that you watched that you'd want to mention?
The original Nightmare on Elm Street.
The original Nightmare on Elm Street, and you're rocking the Freddy tee.
Yep.
That one of your favorites?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of my favorites too. So, all right, so we've both been watching tons and tons of stuff. I'll get into all the stuff I've been watching at the next episode. But speaking of great horror movies, speaking of great horror movies to watch around this time of year, I had to ask you, Mr. Brian White, what's your favorite scary movie?
Scream, of course.
Oh, yeah, it is Scream from 1996. This is the topic of the show. Brian actually is cool enough to have the original VHS of it. This is so awesome. It's got the blue tint of Miss Sidney Prescott's face, the Scream. I just think this is phenomenal. So, all right, so we're going to get into the plot. I'm going to read the plot synopsis for you guys. You guys know the drill. This is episode 5. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we're going to get into... He liked my John Cena. I got a pop for that.
Yep,
I hope I got a pop back.
Cheap pop.
We're right here on Farmingdale State College. All right, we're going to get into the plot synopsis. Here we go. A year after her mother's death, Sydney Prescott, Nev Campbell, and her friends start experiencing some strange phone calls. The phone calls are coming from a crazed serial killer in a white-faced mask and a large black robe. His phone calls usually consist of many questions involving scary movie trivia, and if you answer wrong, you just might die. Sydney and her friends try to uncover the mystery as bloody pieces of innocent lives start to scatter around the small town of Woodsboro. Who will be left, and what will be left of them? In Scream. Yes, Scream from 1996. I would say this is on my top 10 horror movies of all time.
Agreed. The original. Agreed.
The original Scream, yes, absolutely. And we have to preface before we get into this, this was a time in the genre where nothing was happening.
It was stagnant.
It was so stagnant. It was so stagnant from like the end of 1989 where you had all these goofy, cheesy, gory, fun slashers with your Pamela Springsteens and your killer clowns from outer space. In transition to the 90s as a decade. And honestly, in the beginning of the 90s, you had some good stuff. You had some Child's Play 2.
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs, of course. The People Under the Stairs. Yep. You had some standout movies. But going from like 92 to around 96, when Scream came out, you had a really big gap of nothing. Yeah. And it was very depressing to see as horror fans that you had that big of a gap of nothing going on in the genre. All your icons were really dead at this point. I mean, Jason was going to hell literally in a movie. The Michael Myers franchise had taken a long hiatus up until 95 with The Curse of Michael Myers. Freddy, it was the final nightmare. The Final Nightmare, which is, I think, a horrendous movie. Some people like it. Some I don't know. It's not one of my favorites. But you look at those three. Those were the icons of the 80s, and those were the people that carried the genre into 1990. And then when you got to 1990, it just died off death, just flatlined completely. And for a long time, and I was talking about on a past episode how horror movies in like the late 80s became almost reminiscent of 80s hair bands. And 80s hair bands, it was just... We had heard it. We were sick to death of hearing all these Motley Crues, and like we were just sick of it. So we wanted to move into a Nirvana. And that's what Nirvana was, that grunge era of music. In a similar way, I know you'll relate to this, wrestling in the mid-90s. Everything in the mid-90s, film, music, wrestling, everything was in this stagnant, I call it the 1995 stank period. I don't think anything good happened in anything I like in 1995. Like, it's just a fact. And in wrestling, it's Nirvana and ECW. And what Paul Heyman did was he changed everything. And I think Scream is the horror movie equivalent to ECW. Like what ECW was to wrestling, I think Scream was to horror movies.
It changed the game.
It absolutely changed the game, and we can get into this. I mean, this is it's one of those just amazing movies. I think it's a perfect movie. It's a movie that came along at a time where it had to come along, and it's a movie I think in a large way that. Even other than changing the game, it introduced and pioneered so many marketing strategies. Like, if you haven't seen the original poster for Scream, I love it's all them in like black T-shirts, and they're like kind of looking at you. That's like it's like the Dawson's Creek style of like pioneering that marketing. You know what I mean? Like Nev Campbell was on Party of Five. Oh, she's on a popular TV show. Let's throw her on our poster. Drew Barrymore, she's a big icon.
E.T.
Yeah, E.T. She's Cat's Eye. All these movies she did. Let's throw her on the cover, and then they just throw all these preppy looking CW11 people on the cover, and that's how they marketed their movie. And it obviously worked because this movie ended up grossing a lot of money. But let's get into the opening scene. One of the greatest in horror film history. Tell me what you think of that opening scene, Brian.
I just love like watching it. You feel like you're there, like terrified. Yeah, because I'm sure people have gotten like people coming to their house late at night. It could happen to anybody.
Yeah, and it's like that's that scary thing where, you know, how many times has everybody been making popcorn at home? You know what I mean? It's basically the opening scene if you have not seen this movie, which go see this movie. Absolutely. There will be spoilers here, okay? There will be spoilers and there will be blood, right?
Absolutely.
Drew Barrymore, it opens the scene and she's making Jiffy Pop. And she's getting ready to put on a scary movie, and she gets an anonymous phone call from the legendary Roger Jackson, who voices Ghostface. If you don't know who Roger Jackson is, he also voiced the great Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls and our childhood. So many voices other than that. But that's the one that always stood out to me. I always thought it was funny that Mojo Jojo was playing a killer.
That's cool.
Yeah, right? Isn't that the coolest thing? And Drew Barrymore gets this call, and it's this creepy sounding voice, and he asks her, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And right off the bat, it just sets this tone. It starts where she's laughing, and you got the wrong number. Don't worry about it. And it slowly but surely escalates to her life is at danger now. Her boyfriend's in the back, tied up to a chair.
She lives in an isolated part of town.
Yeah, she lives in the middle of nowhere, and it's a very creepy, eerie way to open your film.
Absolutely.
And what a lot of people thought coming into this movie, which people don't realize, was that they thought that Drew Barrymore was the lead. Everybody was thinking, okay, Drew Barrymore, she kind of has the biggest name of all these no-names.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
She's going to be the lead of our movie. And then, bam, right off the bat, you're asking her these scary horror movie trivia questions.
Yeah.
Of course, who is the killer in Friday the 13th? And she answers wrong. She says, Jason. And he goes, of course, no, if you really were a horror fan, you know it was Mrs. Voorhees. And, of course, this escalates into her getting killed. And it's just so crazy to see that for the first time because you're thinking, okay, Drew Barrymore is going to be my lead in my film. Whoa, you killed her off in the first 5 minutes? Now you're telling me as a viewer that anything and everything can happen. And that is so damn smart. It's a similar fashion to, like, Psycho, where Janet Leigh is your star for the first about hour. And then she's killed in the shower, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
where does the movie go from here?
Yeah, where does the movie go from here? And of course, we follow Vera Miles and the detective and all these things. And it was a great strategy that a guy like Hitchcock introduced, but it's something that the genre needed at this point. It needed a wow, okay, that's a shocker. They realized that we could live off her star power without the star being in the movie for more than 5 minutes. And that was just a brilliant, brilliant marketing strategy from Mr. Wes Craven, who is the director, and of course, Kevin Williamson, the writer. And then you meet our cast. You meet the lovely Sidney Prescott, who is our final girl in this one. One of the great final girls of all time. Probably my second favorite. What do you think of Miss Neve Campbell?
I love Neve Campbell. She just filled the role so perfectly, I think. Like, my first, I think I know your first is Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2.
No doubt. Amy Steele is gorgeous, but Neve Campbell was really growing up my final girl.
Okay.
Like I saw this movie when I was a little kid, and like I know everybody loves Laurie Strode.
She had the look.
She's that's the thing with final girls. It's like you have to be vulnerable, you have to be cute, you have to be a little bit of sexy, you have to be all of these things in one. It's a very hard thing to master. Like, and I always thought she was cute, she was vulnerable, she was sexy, she was tough, she had a good exterior to her, her character was interesting, you were never annoyed by her.
No, never.
And I just think she's a great character. And let's talk about the cast of this movie, man.
Okay.
Reel off some of the cast members that you liked.
Okay. Well, Stu, obviously played by Matthew Lillard, one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
We got Billy, played by Skeet Ulrich.
Yep.
And I think between Stu and this upcoming character, Randy Meeks, played by Jamie Kennedy, he's probably my favorite character in the series.
And Jamie Kennedy nailed this role.
They did.
If you've not seen Scream, Jamie Kennedy is the reason that Scream really, really works as a whole. And this was also, his character references a lot of horror movies, and he's talking about all these things. He's self-aware. That's what Scream did better than any movie that preceded it or proceeded it. It was self-aware.
Yep.
It was a movie that it had all its characters. They know the cliches.
Yes.
They know the tropes.
They talked about the rules.
And like you're introduced to all these kids. They're sitting at a water fountain outside of school, and that's like anything. We actually have a water fountain out here. We have this big
plaza.
Yeah, it's like this big waterfall thing, and like it's a beautiful sunny day. They're all wearing these like awful '90s clothing. Yep. Jamie Kennedy actually has like these green shirt and green shorts. Green shorts. Yeah, he's all greened out.
I know.
You have of course Tatum Riley, played by the voluptuous at this time Rose McGowan. She was just gorgeous, and I think she's actually a really underrated actress.
Yeah, I like her.
I actually consider her like a low key Scream queen. Like she was in Planet Terror and Death Proof as the double feature. She's just she was in Charmed. That show Charmed. I think she does a phenomenal job in this movie as Sydney's best friend. And I just love that when you're introduced to all these characters, they feel very real. They feel very genuine.
Absolutely.
You feel like you know these people.
Yeah.
You have the Skeet Ulrich character who's kind of this, mysterious, but
Dark.
he's kind of charming, handsome. And then you have Neve Campbell, who's our final girl, who's just beautiful kind of girl, who's kind of has that tough exterior to her. And then, of course, you have Matthew Lillard and Tatum Riley, who are more of the, like, hardcore couple, and then Jamie Kennedy, obviously the third wheel of the couple, or of this group. And I just have a blast with these characters, man. I think these characters are really one of the big reasons why Scream works as a whole, because they all have something to them, and you care about all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, you have David Arquette, who plays
actually might be my favorite character in the series.
Oh,
Deputy Dewey Riley in the first one.
Deputy Dewey Riley, yes, the older brother of Tatum Riley. And David Arquette is just so fantastic as Dewey Riley. It's one of these funny characters where, like, he can't die. Like, he's so goofy. And
he's goofy. Yep.
He can't do anything. Like, you remember the scene where she opens the door after he finds the mask?
Yep. He's like, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he pulls up. I actually have the Scream mask here. He's picking up something and he turns.
Sid opens the door after just having a confrontation with Ghostface.
Yes, and he just like you would assume for him to go, oh, calm down, or like in the original Halloween where Sheriff Brackett scares Jamie Lee. She is the final girl accidentally scares the sheriff. I always thought that was a really funny switcheroo. It's just such a fun cast. I really like this cast, and of course Courtney Cox as Miss Gail Weathers, who's this kind of news reporter who thinks that Sydney falsely identified the person that killed her mother a year ago, and who actually is Cotton Weary. Cotton Weary, yes, played by Liev Schreiber in like the smallest role ever.
100% Cotton.
100% Cotton, my brother. He's literally in this movie for about a second. Like you see him getting into a cop car.
on the news. That's it. Yep.
You see him on the TV.
Just on the TV, inside the movie.
Yeah, getting into the car. I mean, that's just so funny. But this was one of those movies where it was like I was saying before. This is the first time you heard these characters like mentioning movies like The Howling
and Halloween.
Mentioning movies like Halloween. Of course, that's the big one.
Yep.
And I love the conversation, some of the dialogue that goes along by this water fountain. And they find her liver. They found it in the mailbox next to her pancreas.
It has spleen in her pancreas.
And they're all talking about how can you gut someone, and you're just like Sydney's like galled by this whole thing. She's like, oh my god, I can't take this conversation. And then
Randy immediately suspects. He immediately senses something's up.
Yeah, he thinks Stu. He's like, you're not bothered by this. She's like, how could you gut someone? He's like, well, it's real easy. You take a knife, you pull it from inside to side.
Groin to stone. Yep.
Like. Matthew Lillard has just a blast in this role.
He does.
To me, I've always.
I had a blast watching him.
Absolutely, he's the real standout to me.
Of Ghostface?
What a Ghostface should be? No, just the standout just in this movie.
Okay.
Like he's in very few scenes. Like I think he's maybe in 6-7 scenes in the entire movie. But like every time he's on the screen, he just he steals the
vibrant,
show.
Absolutely.
Very vibrant character. Really, really good actor at this time. And as the movie goes on, you slowly but surely, one of her friends are getting picked off one by one, and you don't know if it's going to be Skeet Ulrich, the Billy Loomis character, which Loomis is, of course, a nod to Sam Loomis from the Halloween series. They pay so many homages to the genre.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah, and that's in essence why I think it works, right? Because like if you look at a lot of the old horror movies, like especially people our age. I don't know if people our age appreciate the Universal monster movies that much.
I agree. I do agree.
And like I appreciate them, but I think this movie is saying a statement. It's like we respect our predecessors. We respect all these movies that came before us. But there comes a time where you have to move on from paying homage and not just paying homage, but saying, oh, these are great movies. We can never live up to that. Yeah. Scream is one of those movies that says, hey, we respect those that came before us, but at the end of the day, that's the past. We're the future. Scream realized that they needed to move the genre along. In essence, in a similar way to how Freddy Krueger moved the genre along in 84. I think Ghostface and Sidney Prescott and Kevin Williamson, Wes Craven was able to move it along in the 90s. And speaking of Wes Craven, may he rest in peace, of course. He's the only guy, I think, in the history of the genre that was able to move the genre along in 3 separate decades.
Now that you think about it.
I mean, think about it. Like, in 72, you had The Last House on the Left. That was his first movie. It's the grindhouse rape revenge movie of all time. Like, The Last House on the Left is that movie. Then you move into Nightmare on Elm Street from 84. That is like one of the essential slasher classics from 1980s. I mean, there's Freddy, there's Jason, and there's Michael. And then you move on to the 90s where nothing's going on. The genre is as flat as it can be. And then, bam, he comes out with Scream. And that's proof that in 3 different decades, he was able to move the same genre along in 3 different ways with 3 different characters and 3 completely different movies. I mean, you have it's apples and oranges.
I agree.
You know, and
Wes Craven and John Carpenter are the goats of horror directors.
Absolutely. I'd say those 2, and I'd throw Romero.
Romero too. Okay.
Gotta love Romero.
Okay, absolutely.
Definitely, that was my core 3. Okay. Romero's my boy. But I just
rest in peace.
Yes, may he rest in peace as well. And Mr. Carpenter actually has a film coming out tonight that he produced into the music for. It's so super cool.
Yep.
And as this movie comes on, I mean, it gets there are funny scenes, there are horrific scenes, there are, and it all really culminates at this big party, right, where Sidney's going to go, and there's a lot of red herrings. It's a big red herring whodunit movie. Yeah. And throughout the entire movie, I can remember the first time watching this, trying to pick out who I thought the killer was. Do you remember who you thought the killer was originally? Did you guess right? Did you guess wrong?
Honestly, I guessed Billy.
You did guess Billy. Yes. But you didn't guess that it was not just one killer.
I only guessed it was one killer.
Okay, so throughout this movie, there are a lot of red herrings, and Skeet Ulrich being the ultimate red herring, because there are points where Sidney gets attacked, and then she runs to the window, and he's there, and he's like, "Oh, calm down, Sid." And his cell phone falls out of his pocket, and she kind of just gives him a wide-eyed look. She's like, "Oh my gosh, is it you that was calling me?"
Yep.
And they arrest him. They have him at the station, and you're just like, "Oh my god, did he do it?"
And then they have him at the station while he's at the station, and another murder is committed.
Yes.
And then people think that he's innocent. Let him free.
Yeah, everyone thinks he's innocent. She gets a call from Ghostface at home after they have him in prison, and she's like, "Oh my god, I got the wrong guy." And you're just like, "Oh man, like this is really good.
This is a good movie.
Who is this? You know?" And as it goes on, you're introduced to like Henry Winkler, who for some reason shows up.
Principal Henry.
Principal Henry. Yes. He like ridicules these 2 students
for wearing scream masks.
For wearing these iconic scream masks throughout school. And he's like, "Oh, you're both expelled to get out of here," and all this stuff. And he cancels class, and everybody's cheering for Sidney.
And there's a curfew.
Yeah, the classic curfew. And of course, then he's in the mirror playing with the mask as he gets killed. Yep. Like, I was the start. Like, you're the biggest hypocrite ever.
Exactly. I know.
You just expelled 2 kids, and then here you are playing in the mirror. It's just classic stuff. Of course, the video store scene with Randy
and that epic laugh.
My God.
That's one of my favorite laughs in movie history. It's just great.
Oh, of course. And I always love the police don't understand. If they watch Prom Night, they'd save time. He's like, "I'll be the first one to admit it. If I was, this was a scary movie, I'd be the prime suspect."
Yep.
Like, there's just all this funny stuff, and Matthew Lillard's like looking around. He's like, "Lower your voice." I always get that myself. Like when I'm out, like I'll have people tell me, "Lower your voice, Grande. You're so loud." I'm sorry, I can't help it. I'm a happy person. I can't help it. But like, you have that Billy, like they kind of corner him.
Oh yeah, that was.
And you're thinking, "Oh man, maybe is he?"
That was another point when I kind of put 2 and 2 together that Billy was.
Yeah, throughout the entire movie, they play with that yin yang of is it Billy? Is it not Billy? It can't be. It has to be.
And they also throw in the Cotton Weary stuff just to mess with you even more.
Yeah, and Courtney Cox believes that Cotton Weary is innocent and that Sidney had the wrong guy locked up years and years ago at jail. And it basically all culminates to this big party at Stu's house. And this is I know it's for a fact it was called scene 118 when they were filming it. Okay. It's like literally one of the longest scenes ever shot.
Wow. Okay.
In slasher film history. Like it took them like a few weeks to get this entire
just at Stu's house?
Just at Stu's house, the final finale, And you have all these kids at a party, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're watching Halloween on TV, talking about Scream Queens. And of course you have Jamie Kennedy tell this amazing this story about Scream Queens and how you have to be a virgin in the horror movies to survive, and if you're not a virgin, you're going to die, and all these things. He gives you the rules, which I actually would love. I have a clip for them to play if I get their attention. They play the clip of Stu. I'm sorry, of Randy. Yeah, play that clip for us.
Racing at the end. Only virgins can do that. Don't you know the rules?
What rules?
You don't. Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules?
I have an aneurysm, why don't you?
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex. Big no-no! Big no!
I'm a dead man.
Sex equals death, okay? Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. No, the sin factor. It's a sin. It's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
You see, you push the laws and you end up dead. Okay, I'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.
Yeah,
Classic.
so that's how classic is that scene? You know,
Terrific.
you have all these tropes in the horror movie actually being explained to you in a horror movie. It's brilliant, you know. And I love all the kids like, oh, you can never have sex. Boo!
Oh yeah,
You know, you can't drink or smoke or do drugs, and they cheers each other, and then of course the classic, I'll be right back. Oh, everybody pops, man. That's just so legendary. Like nobody. It's amazing to me that nobody thought to put that in a movie.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Like it's amazing to me how smart Kevin Williamson was.
Agreed. No, I agree.
Like I know he gets a lot of flack now and that he was a one-trick pony and everything, but he really was able to capture lightning in a bottle here.
Agreed.
Like I think without him, and this is no disrespect to Mr. Craven. I think Wes Craven's a legend. I think the reason this movie works is more for the script than it is for the directing. Would you agree?
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, and like what Wes Craven knew how to do, he knew how to make it scary, he knew how to shoot it and everything. But the reason this movie has a heart and a backbone to it is this dialogue. Like you don't hear dialogue like that in movies before this. Every movie around this time were trying to be scary and harken back to like what movies in the mid to late 70s were doing, and like this movie was like, we know that. Of course, the classic with Cindy is on the phone, and it's horror movies they insult me. They always star some big-breasted blonde is running up the steps when she should be running out the front door. It's insulting. Which after 5 minutes after that scene, Ghostface attacks, and she runs up the stairs instead of running out the front door. So, and that's Kevin Williamson's way of saying, you may think that you do different things in these situations,
but you don't.
When the chips are down, you don't. And that is brilliant because this is able for the audience members to not go, oh, run out the door, you idiot. No. She's already said that, so we're able to go, oh my God, get out of the way. So you're more invested in these scary parts that are going on. Of course, you have the garage kill. You want to tell them a little bit about the garage kill of Miss Tatum Riley?
Sure. So Tatum Riley goes, Stu asks her for more beers, so she obviously goes down to the garage to get more beers. The garage door lifts, and I think she tries to go underneath it, and she looks back, and she sees Ghostface. He closes the garage door.
Screwing with her.
Yep, and I believe she thinks it's. I think she thinks it's
Randy.
Randy. Okay, she thinks it's Randy. She's like, "Do I play your victim?" And he nods his head. And so she tries to get him out of the way, and
of course the classic "Cut it, Casper." That's a rap. She delivered this dialogue great.
She did.
Like she was made to be in a movie like this.
She was perfect. I agree. She was perfect. She was perfect for that role.
Absolutely. And then of course the struggle.
Oh yeah, the struggle. She throws some bottles at him, and he goes down. And then, but she makes this move, her last ditch effort to escape. She tries to go through the doggy door in the garage, and she gets stuck.
And she gets stuck because her boobs are too big. That's just so legendary. Who thought it? That's brilliant. I know we're gonna have her. She beats the killer up a little bit. She gets a couple of jabs in there. Now she's running out. She's gonna escape. She's gonna get help. Right? Nope. Her boobs are too big to get through the doggy door. And of course, Ghostface just effortlessly flips the switch. And the door comes up, and she's all stuck because her boobs are so big. Gets caught under the door.
And then you see her head just remember when that was terrifying.
Fantastic effect, am I right?
No, agreed. Yeah.
And just it looked so real because I think, and this is totally just my own thing that I noticed. She has a beautiful smooth skin, and I think that's why the prosthetic looks so real because her face looks prosthetic.
Good point.
Such a beautiful face, man. She's such a gorgeous.
She was flawless.
At this time, she was really like. If you want to see a 10 at that time,
Rose McGowan,
absolute slam dunk, and of course when she played Cherry Darling in Planet Terror, I love that movie. That would be for a different day. But I always loved that kill, the garage scene. But my boobs are too big to get through the door. It's phenomenal. What other kills did we talk about here? Oh, of course, Billy comes to the house and he's, Sydney, please, Of course, Randy, what's Leatherface doing here? And they go up
the kids' makeup.
They go up, and Matthew Lillard's like, you go in, my parents' bedroom, whatever. And so he takes her up there, pretty much convinces her, I'm not the killer, I'm your boyfriend, I just want my girlfriend back. And of course, he deflowers her. They have sex, and she's no longer a virgin. And after they have sex, she again kind of just like gives that backhand compliment of like, could you still be the killer? And he's like, what do I have to do to make you believe that I'm not a killer? And then of course, bam, somebody comes in, stabs old Skeet Ulrich, and he's so sick, falls down, and then you have the chase is on again, and you have this excellent...
and again, you believe that Billy is not the killer.
Yeah, now you're like, okay, he's been stabbed to death, he's dead, who is this killer?
This is a great psychological horror movie, one of the best of all time.
Absolutely, it plays with your emotions,
it does,
because the entire time, it's like, we want you to think it's Billy, now we don't want you to think it's Billy, now we want you to think it's Billy.
It's great.
And then you're like, okay, now he's dead. So it can't be Billy. So she runs. It's an awesome little chase scene. I always loved. The scene that gave me anxieties when she's in the car.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, and she has all the doors locked, and he
goes. She goes under the car.
Yeah, and somehow unlocks
the door, and then she immediately just goes and clicks
How does that work? Like, how would you unlock a door? Like,
yeah, I have no. I always wondered. I have no clue. And then she's just sitting there. You just see the back. He's working the car somehow, and the back hatch just opens, and she doesn't know that it's opened. And he slides right in and just... I always thought like, and the main reason, like the part where I was like, this is a scream queen, this is a kick-ass scream queen. She gets on all four locks with like all four of her limbs and pushes down. I was like, this woman is phenomenal. I love you, Nev Campbell. Like, you're a genius. Like you don't just scream helplessly and like, fold your arms. You fought back. She was a tough girl, man. That's why we love Nev. And of course, she eventually runs out of the car and she runs up to the porch and she sees Randy, she sees Stu, and they're both accusing and pointing at each other. And this is the tension is just building to a perfect crescendo. It's one of the great finales ever. And then he did it, Sidney. No, he did it. He killed my Tatum. She just slams the door on both.
Slams the door.
Because she doesn't know who to believe.
Yeah, and she basically goes to these, screw you both or whatever, closes the door. And then you see Skeet Ulrich, and he comes out of the bedroom, and
he falls down the stairs.
Falls down the stairs
to make it look really dramatic.
Just give me the gun. She has a gun now. Give me the gun. Calm down.
As soon as he said, "Give me the gun," then I was like, "This is it.
It's got to be him now. He's still alive. They tricked me for the last time, right?" And he opens the door, and Jamie Kennedy walks in, and he goes, "I think Stu's flipped out. He's gone mad." And then we all go a little mad sometimes. Bam! Shoots Jamie Kennedy, and Jamie Kennedy's like, "Oh my god!" Shoots him, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And then Cedar scratches his head with the gun and goes, "Anthony Perkins, psycho." And then you're just like, "Oh my god!" I remember when I first saw that, I went, "No way!"
Same.
I went,
I couldn't believe
"Wow!" And then Sydney rushes up to run away, and she runs into Stu, and she goes, "Stu, please help me!" And then he pulls up the voice box.
Surprise, Sydney.
Oh, man, the voice box. That was so brilliant because you were able to know that that's how the killer was able to disguise his voice. That's why we weren't able to tell who the killer exactly was.
Exactly. Anybody. Could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody. Could have been Nev Campbell.
Could have been.
Could have been anybody.
It's that voice changer.
That's iconic, and like, who would think to do that? Like, I think that's a brilliant.
Another way Scream stepped up the game.
Exactly. Absolutely, 100%. I think, and of course, I think the best scene in the movie is that confrontation of when you see that the killers are revealed.
The 2-on-1.
Yeah, and they whoa, and she says, "Screw you," and he goes, "Oh no, we played that game before, remember? You lost." And he goes, "You're no longer a virgin. Oops, oopsie, and now you got to die. Those are the rules." I just love that they're trolling her right in front of her, and she's like, "You both are crazy, both of you," and they kind of. We prefer the term psychotic. And she's like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And this is where you get the motive. And I think this is the best scene in the entire movie, like I said. Like, I really love this scene. And I would dare to say that this scene alone saved horror. Would you go that far as to say that?
For the 90s, I would.
I think, like, because, like, we had never seen a killer reveal quite like this.
No.
Like, Michael Myers, we got the split second of him taking the mask off. With Chucky, we knew Chucky was Charles Lee Ray.
Right.
We knew Freddy was Freddy. Jason was, we've seen Jason's face over the years. It changed a lot. But for this to not know who you were going to see, and the fact that it was not just one face. Ghostface was not just one face. It was two. There were two. Here, hold your mask up, man. This is Ghostface Central right now.
This is it.
It was not one but two, and she goes, "Why are you doing this?" And he goes, Stu, I believe she wants the motive. And they explain that motives aren't necessary. And I always love that. They aren't necessary. Did Norman Bates
have a motive?
No, he didn't. And everybody in Psycho, they believe that, he's after the money. He never even knew about the money in Psycho. That's what's so damn scary about it.
Just the randomness of it.
It's just the randomness of it. I think if you were ever to add a motive, it was, the mother. He thought he was the mother, and the mother didn't want anybody hanging around him. But then at the same time, the mother was dead, and all these things. But did Hannibal Lecter? Why did he like to eat people?
They never found out.
Why did Michael Myers kill babysitters?
Never know.
You never know, and that's what makes it scary. And they shot this two ways. They shot this with there is no motive. They were like, there is no motive, and they shot this with what they ended up doing is Billy says, "You want a motive? How about this? Your mother was having sex with my father."
Yes.
And she is the reason that my mother moved out and abandoned me.
Yeah.
And for a minute, they pan to Sidney's face. And like in any other movie, in a lesser movie, she would just be looking mad and like, you killed all these people, you horrible. This is where Wes Craven's direction comes in. She looks upset. Like she looks like she's about to cry, her mouth wide open, like shocked, and she looks like she's about to cry for him. She feels bad. It's in that moment where you realize that these are humans. They're not like it's that whole thing with The Last House on the Left with Krug, and I'll get into that in later episodes. But like these are humans. These are genuine human beings, and she felt for him in that minute, even though later she's not feeling for him anymore. No. But it was. And what I love, I don't know if you ever noticed this. I noticed this last night for the first time. I don't know why it eluded me all these years. It's a blink and you miss it kind of thing.
Okay.
They show, after he says, my mother moved out and abandoned me, they show her, and for a split second, they show Stu. And Stu has his mouth wide open. He didn't even know. Stu didn't even know that Billy's motive was because... Did you ever realize that? I just blown this kid's mind right over the right here, man, right here. Boom.
Awesome.
I just blew this kid's mind. It's a blink and you miss it. I would have played the clip. There's a lot of cursing in it, so I can't, unfortunately. But for a split second, you see Matthew Lillard, Stu. He's stunned.
Yeah.
That is great. He didn't even know. He's been killing along all this time with him, and he had no clue what Billy's motive was. He just thought, we're having fun. No.
Yeah. Even just the party type, like that just went along with everything.
Yeah. This is the perfect sidekick.
Absolutely.
The perfect, Robin to Batman kind of thing. Even though, in this case, I think we both like Robin more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Robin is Nightwing here. I know Tyler will appreciate that if Tyler's listening. Hi, Tyler, if you're listening. I always just thought, wow, that's powerful stuff. And, of course, they stare at each other and they reveal the entire, you're going to love this one. It's a Scream. And they have her father, and he's all duct taped. And
they had the plan to pin the whole thing on him.
Yeah, the plan was to pin the whole thing on him because he went crazy about the mother's anniversary being 1 year ago. And, of course, you have, they say, we're going to kill you, and then we're going to stab each other, and, we're going to be left for dead.
Yep.
And we're going to be the only people to get out of this thing alive. And I always thought, and then they start stabbing each other. And that scene, it's very cut down. Like, I've actually seen the scene in its entirety. It's actually, you can watch it in certain places. It's a rough cut. But it's very violent. What did you think of that scene when you first...
I didn't know what to expect, honestly. Like, I was watching it, and they were stabbing each other, and just, they were willingly stabbing each other, for fun. And I was like, what am I watching? At first, I was like, what am I watching?
And Sydney goes, you sick, you-know-whats. You've seen too many movies. And movies don't create psychos. Movies create psychos more creative. And they keep stabbing each other. And eventually, and you're just like, wow, these guys are so crazy. They've literally backed themselves into a corner of, we're gonna like stab the hell out of each other,
to death.
you know, and give me the knife now. And of course, Miss Courtney Cox just shuffles in,
saves the day.
Yeah, she has the gun pointed at them, and she's like, "How about the news reporter comes in, stumbles upon you two, and they kind of both walk up to her. Yeah, you want to speak?
I like that ending.
Yeah, Sydney goes, I like that ending. And Skeet Ulrich out missing a beat goes, well, I know something you don't. And she's got the gun pointed at him, and then the safety's on, and then bam, they whack her in the face, and they turn around, and Sydney's now gone. And now they're like, oh my God, where'd she go? Where'd she go? The phone rings. And it's the voice box changer, and it's Sydney calling. She's like, "Guess who just called the police?" And Skeet Ulrich is flipping out because now he's realized my master plan has gone to hell.
He's gonna go to jail. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, and it's fantastic.
They both are.
Yeah,
because Stu's like, my mom and dad are gonna be so.
Oh, it's the best part. Oh my God! So he's laying there, covered in his own blood. He's like, "Oh man, Billy, I think you cut me too deep, man.
I'm getting woozy.
I'm feeling a little woozy here." And Skeet Ulrich is like, "Where are you?" And she's like, "You gotta find me, you pansy mama's boy."
Yep.
Like she's trolling him. I'm like, "Yo, this is why we love Nev Campbell.
Terrific. She's terrific.
Such a great character."
The movie just had an epic cast that you couldn't.
Perfect cast. Perfect.
Anybody else in any different role, I don't think it would have fit.
Yeah, I actually heard they wanted to bring Breckin Meyer in for the Jamie Kennedy role. Could you imagine? That would have been horrible.
Jamie Kennedy. Also,
Jamie Kennedy championed that role.
I just thought of another thing. Jamie Kennedy, Jamie Lee Curtis could be another reference.
Oh, well, Jamie Kennedy's his real name.
No, Jamie and Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie and Jamie.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's true. This is true. Randy Meeks.
Randy Meeks.
But I always thought that this ending scene was great, and Matthew McConaughey. Now I'm on to a different movie.
Oh.
Matthew Lillard, excuse me.
Yep.
Matthew Lillard's sitting there in his own blood, and oh man, and she goes, "Oh, Stu, you know what's your reason?" And he goes, "Peer pressure." I just start dying when I hear that every time. I'm like, man, that is one of the funniest things ever. And throws the phone at him. We can't say, "Hit me with the phone."
Yep.
And of course, my mom and dad. Did you really call the police, Sydney? And she goes, "You bet your sorry ass I did." And he goes, "My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me."
Yep.
And he's like crying, and then of course Sydney comes out of the closet, stabs Skeet Ulrich with the umbrella, and he goes down. Yeah. And she takes off the scream mask. You're like, wow.
Yep.
Now the hunted has become the hunter. And I love that kind of switch. And of course, Stu comes out, tackles her. Yep. I've always had a thing for you, Sydney.
In your dreams.
In your dreams. Bam. Gets a big old TV smashed all over his head. He gets electrocuted to death.
Yep.
And then, of course, Skeet Ulrich comes back for one last scare, which Jamie Kennedy says, and it's great. And she shoots him. Shoots him right in the head. And her, Jamie Kennedy, Courtney Cox, and even David Arquette, who actually gets stabbed during the party scene. He gets stabbed in the back. They all live to see the sunrise. And just leaving the screen, like leaving this movie, I think what you had was a perfect crescendo of magic.
You did.
Like, it was lightning in a bottle. This movie came out like late December. It actually came out 3 days before I was born.
Wow.
So in a lot of ways, I always felt that connection with this movie.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with it, and it was made around the same time I was made. It's one of those things. It's weird. It's a weird connection, but like I always kind of was like, oh, it's so cool. It came out 3 days before I did. I just thought, man, like this is a magical movie. It had comedy, it had scares, it had blood, it had fantastic dialogue and characters, it had fantastic red herrings and the villains, just like when you reveal that, and the fact that and the fact that one of the villains didn't even know the other's motive. That is terrifying. He just thought
he just went along with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to go along with this crazy bastard. No, he actually had a motive, and it was like that always just scared me. I think that's one of the most powerful, just split second scenes where he didn't even know. Scream, and this movie came out, of course, made a lot of money. I believe $172 million at the box office. It was one of those movies that came out number 3. Next week it was number 2, and it just gradually became number 1, and then just it just sweeps the nation. And this was a movie that everybody was talking about when it came out.
Yeah.
Like this movie, this is a slice of Americana. I think this movie is right up there with all the classics. And I think it is probably the best horror movie of the 90s. I know a lot of people would argue Blair Witch, but I think when it comes to horror movies that it needed to move the genre along,
easily Scream.
And this of course it spawned all these rip-off movies, right? Like your I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, of course.
Your Valentine, your Urban Legends. That's what this movie kind of spawned in, like, after this movie came out. Everybody was like, let's rip that off.
Yeah.
And that is what the genre needs right now.
I agree.
We need this next movie
to
move us ahead.
Yep.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it might be Halloween. Listen, I don't know about that. I don't think so personally because like this is my thing. I don't know. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Okay.
You look at the movies that move the genre along. Let's go with the last three.
Okay.
The last movie to move us along, I'd say, was Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
I've never been a big fan. I always thought it was an overrated movie.
Okay.
But the movie organically got over when it was shown in theaters. Remember the commercials for that?
Yeah. And the audiences, they showed the audiences.
They didn't show any of the movie really.
Yep.
They showed the
audience
audience's reactions.
And they just said, go see this movie.
People sat at home and said, these people look scared poopless.
Yep.
We have to go see this. And people did. And in essence comes your Insidious movies, your Conjuring movies that are way better made by James Wan.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Way better.
Annabelle's,
whatever.
The whole paranormal ghost. That's the era
we've been in that for about 10 years.
Yeah.
This is the 9th year of it. Coming on, in a few months it'll be 2019.
Yeah.
That's 10 years of we've been in that state.
Yeah.
And 5 years before that it was Saw. And Saw like had no hype around it when it originally it was originally, I don't know if you know this, it was originally going to be a direct sci-fi movie.
Okay.
Had $1 million budget. They finished it and they were like, this is fantastic. We got to release this theatrically. It did, and it organically got over. Same with this movie.
Yep.
Nobody at this time was like, oh my God, do you believe the next Wes Craven movie that's coming out? No, Wes Craven was coming off of Vampire in Brooklyn, which might be his worst movie. And that's saying something because he made like My Soul to Take, which is like really, really bad movie. Nobody, again, there was no hype. That's the thing. Like, I think for a movie to organically get over and to organically move the genre along into a different subgenre where it dominates the movies that come out, your exorcism movies that have come out recently, all this stuff. You need to have no hype. You have to just come out and make noise via word of mouth. And that's
exactly what Scream did.
It's the prime example of that. Your mother was talking about it. Everybody's mother was talking about this movie. Your sister, your boyfriend.
Perfect water cooler movie.
Totally the perfect water cooler movie. And that's like something that people don't get. It's like, if you want to move along in the genre, if you really, and I know people are wanting for that movie.
Yeah.
We have to get behind something that isn't established.
No, I agree.
Like okay, this Hellfest movie came out. I didn't see it. I know it bombed. It made no money. It got like decent critic reviews.
I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. If a movie's going to move us along, it's going to be a movie like that. Had no hype around it. Had nobody we knew in it.
Agreed.
We had nobody other than Drew Barrymore. We didn't really know it.
Yeah.
All right, we knew Courtney Cox from Friends because the Friends audience was the ones that are going to go see this, right? So stupid. Some people are stupid. I'm sorry. It bothers me. But like that's the thing. It organically, like, we didn't know these people. We got to know them.
We got to.
That is what this genre is all about. We didn't know Heather Langenkamp. We didn't know Johnny Depp. We didn't know Amanda Weiss.
Yep.
We got to know them in A Nightmare on Elm Street. We didn't know Kevin Bacon. We didn't know Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
We didn't know these people, so you can't tell
and that. You see it in American society, that's some of the biggest names, but at the time, you had no clue who they were.
Exactly. Animal House.
Who
would have thought that Kevin Bacon was going to be the biggest star coming out of that movie? Everybody would have said the lead, what's his name?
Belushi?
No, not Belushi. The Richard Matheson.
Tim Matheson.
Tim Matheson. Yeah, Richard Matheson. That's hilarious. He wrote Twilight Zone episode. It's a Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. I'm coming out of VizCom class. My brain's all scrambled. But yeah, Tim Matheson. Everybody would have thought, okay, he's your lead.
He was
Him and Belushi, right?
Yeah.
Nope. The guy gets trampled.
At the end. He gets trampled and just like flat, like.
Yeah, that's why I say okay, this new Halloween may be good, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
How much time we got? We have 1 minute.
7. What is 4 or 5?
Oh, okay, we have 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Wow, we went a while. Okay. Can I get an extra 5 minutes? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sorry. Wow, this went fast.
Yeah.
This went fast.
It did.
But okay, yeah. Then let's. Okay, so Scream again. We're gonna wrap Scream up here. What would you give Scream out of 10?
9.9.
9.9. I give it a 10. I'm going to round up to a 10. I have this rule where if you're in my top 10, you've got to be a 10. And Scream is a slice of Americana, is one of the great horror movies of all time. And I think it will stand the test of time. And I know that a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's played out in the scary movies that ripped it off and all these things. I think people got sick of that genre. But I think in a lot of ways, without this, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I think without this movie, dare I say, horror could still be dead.
Do you think? What do you think they should make another Scream movie? What do you think?
I would say no, because as much as I think Part 4 was a good movie, and a lot of people gave it crap, whatever, you give it crap if you'd like. I think Part 4 was a good movie, but at the end of the day, I don't think the audience is there anymore. I don't think that they want to see...
It was an 11-year gap.
Yeah, people don't want to see neo-slashers anymore. We want something new. We need something new to move us along. And until that movie happens, I don't know. I still harken back to Scream as one of my favorite, if not my favorite, movies that moved us ahead in the genre. But we have about 5 minutes left here. I wanted to preview Halloween. We are going to see it tonight. 9 o'clock p.m. sharp. Yep. The Shape is back in town.
Absolutely.
To slash up Laurie Strode. And it's going to be a blast. What are your thoughts, man?
I don't know. I love Halloween. I'm glad to see Michael back on the big screen. But like I think it's going to be definitely a good movie. It's just I just don't think like you said I don't think it's going to be a movie that's going to like move move us into like.
Well, I'm not even saying like I don't expect it to do that. Yeah. I just like I think our thing, because we're big Part 2 marks. It's gonna. I guess the term is retcon. It's the dumbest.
I always compare every Halloween to Halloween 2.
So do I.
That's the thing.
So do I. That's the problem. Like, to me, the meat and potatoes of it was that they were brother and sister.
Yeah.
Because that was also the first one I saw. So to me, they were always. I never saw the original Halloween and was like, this is just a random. Yeah. They were always brother and sister in my eyes. Yeah. So I think that hurts that mistake for me. With that being said, I'm going to try not to hold that against the movie.
Okay.
Granted, I think it will pale in comparison to H2. Yeah. I love Halloween 2. It's probably one of, if not my favorite slasher movies. Another 10 out of 10 I'd have on my top 10 list. Do you have a prediction as to will Laurie die tonight? Will Michael die tonight? Like, what's going to happen? Any bold predictions?
I think Michael will die. I put it in quotation
until a sequel,
marks.
Until it makes a crap ton of money.
Yeah. I don't know, because didn't Laurie? I'm harking back to Resurrection. Oh, Laurie died in the beginning, correct?
She did, but now they're retconning, which is the dumbest term in the history of the world. They're forgetting all the sequels that happened. So it's just, this is a direct continuation 40 years later from the original. So no LL Cool J.
No LL Cool, sadly.
No Busta Rhymes.
Sadly.
No Paul Rudd.
Sadly.
We keep going with that one. No Paul Rudd. Who was in Part 5? Nobody part really 5. Big in Part 5. Wendy Kaplan, who sucked. No Danielle Harris, sadly. Yeah. And of course, no
Malcolm
Halloween
McDowell.
2 or Malcolm. Well, yeah, those are remakes. But yeah, if I have any bold predictions, I think this is my thing. I think fans will like it. I think a majority of people will like the movie. But at the end of the day, I do have doubts. I'm a little bit worried about certain things. I like Danny McBride. I like David Gordon Green. I think it will be a passable horror movie. I have no doubt about that. But I think I'm just a little bit worried about how much I'm going to like it compared to the other ones.
Yeah,
because I can't just say like walk into this movie tonight and walk out and be like, well, you know, it's a great continuation. I'm going to forget all those other movies. I can't forget H2.
Yeah, you can't.
I can't forget Halloween 4.
Yeah,
I can't even forget 5 and 6. I like 5 and 6.
I felt the same way when I walked out of the Jurassic World movies. I like they try and like move on to World instead of Park, and it's just like I love the park.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit silly, but yeah, I have high hopes. I have doubts, but I do have hopes too. I'm just looking forward to going to see a horror movie with my broskies in the theater.
Awesome.
It's going to be a blast. Yeah, and so hopefully it makes a lot of money.
Yep.
And like that. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Brian, I want to thank you so much
for coming
on my show.
Had a blast.
Dude, it was a blast having you on.
Awesome.
I'll have you on again. Maybe we'll talk Hocus Pocus somewhere down the line or something else like that. But, boo! Yeah, until then, I am the Pajama Pants Player, the Cemetery Man of Salem, Mass. We'll see you later, guys.
Yeah.